Campaign season is officially underway as the rally schedule moves through my home state along with the American Southwest. A crazy man dangles off the side of Trump Tower and demands to talk to the president, so we'll talk a bit about that. A quiet weekend leads the Senate Democrats and Republicans to sit down and have a serious talk about what could happen with court packing coming up. And just in case you don't want to see much more of this going on in American politics, the asteroid may actually be your answer. Good morning, Monday morning. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, folks, and welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. We've got a bunch of stuff to get to today here. Unfortunately, it's quiet. So a bunch of this stuff is a little bit of cleanup from all of this here, and coming up this close to an election when they're quiet, I'm getting worried. I don't know about you guys, but I am worried when I see a weekend that had this little bit of happening. I'm sitting back here looking at the Daily Wire, I'm looking at Fox, I'm looking back at CNN even, scraping the bottom of the barrel thinking, okay, a lot of this stuff is what I was reading about on Friday. What happened over the weekend? Who pissed who off? But it's definitely campaign season. We've definitely got some stuff going on over there. Trump is out making the circuit, and everybody's pissed about it. So we will see what happens with all of that here. But before we get started, head on over to freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all your news and commentary needs. We carry great shows such as The Generational Gap, The Daily Ignoramus, The R-Rated Conservative, The Freckles and Brit Show, and The Breakdown with Birkenhoff. Come over there, check out all of our great programming over there, pick up some of our swag, and help us support great creators. All right, let's have a quick look at the stocks here before we get into anything else. And if you'll permit me, I do have a third stock article today. So we'll check that out as we go along here. Looks like we actually had a pretty decent day staying above water over on Friday. And possibly some of that comes with the fact that they're still sitting there talking about how they're going to spend your money to get the economy pumping again. That's always a possibility with this particular Congress and everything else that goes along with this. Ending the day at 28,606, 1.39 points up over Thursday. So we will see what's going to happen today on the markets here, starting with Investors Business Daily. Dow Jones Futures stock market rally at turning point. Pelosi sets a stimulus deadline from Ed Carson. Dow Jones Futures rose modestly early Monday, along with S&P 500 Futures and NASDAQ Futures, as House Speaker Nancy Pelosi set a stimulus deal deadline but remained hopeful. The stock market rally has come to a turning point. The major indices and many leading stocks are pulling back in a manner that could foreshadow a bullish advance or bearish retreat. Stimulus deal talks in the presidential election create uncertainty along with key coronavirus news. Oh, and earnings season kicks into higher gear with the likes of Tesla and Netflix on tap. Meanwhile, China GDP picked up a little less than expected in the third quarter, but monthly retail sales and industrial production topped forecasts. On Sunday, Speaker Pelosi set a Tuesday stimulus deal deadline. There's no accord in 2 days. New coronavirus aid will have to wait until after the election, Pelosi said, but she expressed optimism that a stimulus deal could be reached by then. President Trump reiterated his willingness to go beyond $1.8 trillion to buy a bunch of votes. To reach an agreement. House Democrats have passed a $2.2 trillion measure. Senate Republicans plan to vote on a $500 billion stimulus on Wednesday, but President Trump expressed confidence that he could sell them good stimulus deal with Pelosi. The major indices started last week with huge mega-cap tech gains, but then retreated. That's allowed stocks such as Amazon, Salesforce, and Shopify to carve handles in their new bases, after the Democratic governors got the small businesses out of their way. Creating lower buy points, several other tech giants are close to doing so, including Apple and Microsoft. Tesla stock, Netflix, and Lam Research are among the many notable earnings reports this coming week. All three are near buy points. If the Nasdaq, Amazon, Shopify, etc. power higher towards record highs, that would be a positive signal, but falling back toward or below key support would raise serious concern. So, no pressure. Tesla and Microsoft are on the IBD leaderboard. Apple, Amazon, and Salesforce are on Swing Trader. Salesforce and Microsoft are on IBD long-term leaders. Netflix, PayPal, which you can donate to mine in the description below, Lam Research, and Microsoft are on the IBD 50. On the futures, Dow futures were up 0.3%. S&P 500 futures climbed 0.3%. NASDAQ 100 futures rose 0.6%. China rose for the third quarter 4.9% versus a year earlier, up from 3.2% in a quarter two, but slightly below views for 5.2%. But September retail sales rose 3.3% versus a year earlier, while industrial production climbed 6.9%, both above forecasts. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So a couple things moving there. Hopefully, we'll see a continuation up. Now, as far as the spending goes, just stop the spending. You're into the T's right now, and then people are bitching about the fact that the national debt went up. Not understanding the fact that they're spending like this left and right, and they won't go to the table unless there's a T on the figure. So that's what we'll see coming up out of this here. Let's see what the countervailing point is from CNBC. Market coverage from around the world. More data, less ads. No. Dow futures climb amid stimulus hopes, but rising coronavirus cases cap upside. From Fred Imbert. U.S. stock futures advanced early Monday as investors hope for a stimulus deal from Washington, although a rising number of COVID-19 cases dampened sentiment. Futures contracts tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 200 points, indicating a more than 100-point gain at the open. S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100 futures also traded in positive territory. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office said Saturday evening that she is giving the Trump administration 48 hours to reach an aid deal before the November 3rd election. Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin continued their discussions over the weekend. They agreed to speak again on Monday. A continued economic recovery in China also boosted sentiment on Monday. The world's second largest economy reported third quarter GDP growth of 4.9%, which was on the low end of expectations, but indicates an improving outlook. China's quarter three GDP fell a bit short of expectations, but the September figures, retail sales and IP, both exceeded forecasts, and this is giving a boost to equity sentiment, noted Adam Crisafulli of Vital Knowledge. Meanwhile, global coronavirus cases hit 40 million on Monday, which put a damper on bullish sentiment. A CNBC analysis of Johns Hopkins University data showed COVID-19 cases were growing by 5% or more in 38 states on Friday. Nationwide, the daily case average has risen by more than 16% on a week-over-week basis to nearly 55,000. New coronavirus cases infection in Europe are rising about 97,000 per day, up 44% from the prior week. The 48 only relates if we want to get it done before the election, which we do, Pelosi told ABC's This Week on Sunday. We're saying to them, we have to freeze the design on some of these things. Are we going with it or not? And what is the language? I'm optimistic because, again, we've been back and forth with all of this. Stocks are coming off a week of choppy trading. So once again, she wants to go out there and spend your money. And before anything gets signed, we do have to come together and figure out just how much pork is stuffed into this piece of shit, because that's what they do. And that's what Pelosi's been doing from the beginning of this, not just going out and spending the money. I think at this point, with the exception of a few hyper-libertarian Jorgensen fans over on Twitter, everyone's going to accept the spending at this point. Well, and me, who is not a hyper-libertarian Jorgensen fan over on Twitter, but still want to see the spending stop. I think for the most part, the American people on the 95% range are going to accept the spending if it happens. The problem is that we're looking at this bill and we're seeing just laden with pork about SALT eliminations from the tax plan, mail-in voting provisions, various other provisions, ending voter ID. There's so much pork chalked into a Nancy Pelosi bill that I don't blame the Trump administration for just kicking the thing down the road. He just wants the money out there because he wants to be the money guy. All right, I've got one more here I want to touch on because we're talking about the stimulus here. This comes from MarketWatch, and this could possibly have something to say about the way that our economy goes into quarter three and quarter four, especially going into the election here. So, from MarketWatch, can the Dow rally without a stimulus deal? Bulls put faith in a resilient consumer, from William Watts. Bulls are convinced the American consumer and the stock market are going to hold up fine even if politicians fail to approve another round of fiscal stimulus before next month's election. Some economists, however, have doubts about just how much buying power consumers have left after an admittedly robust third quarter, worrying the latest round of weekly data on jobless claims showed that first-time applications for benefits unexpectedly rose, hitting a 7-week high, and possibly signaling that resurgent COVID-19 outbreaks in several states are hurting the labor market again. Investors looking for comfort can point to retail sales and readings on consumer confidence. Jeffrey Schultz, an investment strategist at ClearBridge Investments, told MarketWatch in an interview, "Bulls certainly were cheered Friday by data showed September retail sales rose by 1.9%, far surpassing the 0.7% consensus forecast by Dow Jones Newswire survey of economists. On top of that, the preliminary reading of University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index edged up to 81.2 this month from 80.4 in September, the highest since March, though we are still well below pre-pandemic level." Stocks rose following Friday's data, snapping a 3-day losing streak and allowing Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500 to each log a third straight weekly gain. The Dow rose 0.1% for the week, ending Friday at 28,606.31, while the S&P saw a 0.2% weekly rise to close at 3483.81. The Nasdaq Composite rose 0.8% for the week to end at 11,671.56. There are a couple things that are going on with this, and this is some of what we saw towards the end of the Great Recession in the Obama years, where, people like my cousin's new wife, well, I guess they weren't married at the time, but people like that were coming out and saying, oh, well, the economy's going up under Obama, so, that's good. And that was a lot of the big sentiment to this. That's a lot of what they're trying to pull off the campaign right now, is the fact that Barack Obama and Joe Biden, but they're mostly focusing on Joe Biden for this, saved the economy towards the end of their presidency as the recession was starting to go down. There is something you do have to look at as we look into this, and that is the fact that we hit a point, once again, with a 34% shrinkage of the economy, where the economy had nowhere to go but up. We were at pretty well the bottom once again, and it could have been a lot worse if we didn't have the robust economy that we had under the last 3 Trump years. You're starting to see the consumer confidence rise. You're starting to see people going out and spending the money. You're starting to see retail sales rebound because they need a rebound. That's just what needs to happen. People do need to eat. They need to do stuff while they're cooped up in their homes because certain governors don't want them to go back to work. And I don't know what that's like to be cooped up in your home, because let's face it, I haven't missed a day of work since all this stupid bullshit started. I have gone to work every single day since then. And even when I didn't go to work, when I took vacation, I took my laptop with me and we did contemporary. I read the news to you guys from Florida for 2 days and had Jessica Green cover me for 2 days. There gets to a point where you just can't go any lower without actually being in a recession and people starting to starve off and die off. But as far as human beings being survivable, no. They're going to go out, they're going to find a way to get the money and spend the money. And that's what we're going to see off of something like this here. So that is something. The market is going to get bullish. It's just going to happen. Because people need to go out and eat. And that's just it. So I wanted to read that to you guys and, kind of get some opinions up out of this off the live chat here. see what you guys think about this and what you guys have been doing on the lockdown and the pandemic here. But let's get into campaign news because it's been a rally kind of weekend. Starting with, actually, we're going to do one before we go into that news because this is just kind of breaking this morning as we were getting started from this. From the New York Post, apparently the National Enquirer of mainstream news. Man dangling from Chicago's Trump Tower demands to speak with the president, from Kenneth Garger. You know what? Let's just watch the video before we read any of this.
Look at this guy.
You're getting in wetsuits.
That's interesting. All right, let's see what's going on with this. An alleged member of the Black Lives Matter movement was dangling from a rope off Chicago's Trump Tower Sunday night, demanding to speak to the president and the media, a report said. The unidentified man, who appeared to be in his 20s, was seen hanging off the side of the riverfront skyscraper at 5:30 p.m. local time, remaining there for hours as police negotiators tried to talk him to safety, the Chicago Sun-Times reported. Police told the newspaper that the man threatened suicide and voiced a desire to speak with Trump and the media. Later Sunday night, a video message from what appeared to be the man began circulating on social media. Filmed while hanging from an orange rope, and at one point acknowledging he's in Chicago, the man identifies himself as Black Lives Matter member with a message for Trump, according to footage shared by Inside Paper. "I don't want to die. If someone will try to pull this rope, I will jump and die," the man said, panning the camera down for a view of the Chicago River. The man also points to the camera at the top of the building, where a person could be seen and heard trying to communicate. "I have a knife. If someone pulls the rope, I will cut it, and I will probably die, but I don't want to die," the man said with a knife in his hand. The man did not make clear what he wished to speak to Trump about, but said, "If Mr. Trump, he promised something he should do before the election. Everyone who knows me, they know I'm not crazy." Well, you're dangling off the side of a Trump tower. So that kind of went out the fucking window. "I am not crazy. I'm a well-educated guy, but Mr. Trump, if you think I'm crazy, I'm not crazy. And if you will not talk with me, I will die," he says. I have no words. You're dangling off the side of a Trump tower, demanding a meeting with the most powerful office in the country that has no business having that much power, but that's a discussion for another time, and trying to tell people that you're not crazy. Not buying it. All right, let's keep going here. I've got one from the Daily Wire. Pelosi gives Trump administration 48-hour deadline to compromise on coronavirus relief, which we talked a little bit about when we talked about the stocks. This comes from Ash Snow. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has given the Trump administration 48 hours to address the differences between what Democrats and Republicans want in the second coronavirus relief bill. Drew Hamill, Deputy Chief of Staff to Pelosi, tweeted Saturday night that the Speaker and the Treasury Secretary spoke for an hour regarding the relief bill. While there was some encouraging news on testing, there remains work to do to ensure that there's a comprehensive testing plan that includes contact tracing and additional measures to address the virus's disproportionate impact on communities of color. Hamill tweeted, "There remains an array of additional differences as we go provision by provision that must be addressed in a comprehensive manner. In the next 48 hours, decisions must be made by the White House in order to demonstrate that the administration is serious about reaching bipartisan agreement that provides the Americans with the greatest needs during the pandemic." Pelosi's 48-hour deadline rings hollow given that her own refusal to seriously address a second round of relief. Earlier this month, Pelosi had a vote on a $2.2 trillion coronavirus relief package that received 0 Republican votes and lost even 18 Democrat votes. The Daily Wire previously reported Democrats even messaged Pelosi and asked her to accept the Trump administration's $1.6 trillion offer. Yeah, the writing is on the wall here that this is a Pelosi thing, and that's going to be a pain. That's going to be a thorn in the side to everybody who's trying to get reelected right now in the next couple of days as people are going out and voting, knowing that Trump is willing to move. McConnell isn't, Pelosi isn't, but Trump is willing to move. There are people out there that are worried about their seats. Of course, that's all that they worry about off of this. So yes, they're going to go out and say, just take the deal, man, take the deal. We'll get our pork later. Just make sure that we stay in power, okay? Republicans have put forward a serious offer, and I think leadership should stay at the table and get this across the finish line, Representative Ben McAdams said at the time. This is going nowhere. We know it's going nowhere. This is just a vote to make people feel good, said Representative Cindy Axne of Iowa. I want to help people, and that means sitting at the table and getting the damn deal done. Last Tuesday, prominent Democrats told Pelosi to accept the Trump administration's $1.8 trillion deal, which was the White House's compromise. Pelosi, take this deal, said entrepreneur Andrew Yang, who ran for the Democratic presidential nomination. Put politics aside. People are hurting. We'll give them $1,000 a week. Freedom, Beth. Just don't call it a stimulus. Call it democracy dollars. A freedom dividend. Call it that. Former Obama administration advisor Dan Pfeiffer also told Pelosi to aggressively pursue a COVID relief deal with Trump. People in need can't wait until February. $1.8 trillion is significant and more than twice Obama's stimulus, said Progressive Rep. Ro Khanna. It will allow Biden to start with infrastructure Obama won in 2008 by doing the right thing on TARP instead of what it was expedient. Make a deal and put the ball in the McConnell court. Pelosi's demand is especially odd given that just Thursday a YouGov poll showed Americans are blaming her for the delay in the new coronavirus relief bill. 43% of those polled blame Pelosi for the delay, while 40% blame Trump. For independents, 45% blame Pelosi, while just 30% blame Trump. Yeah, this is going to start hurting the people in the House, and that's why all these people are jumping up and saying, take the deal, take the deal, take the deal. We could lose everything. Oh my God, we could lose everything. But they're going to go up and they're going to try and spend your money and then wonder why we're in so much more debt under the Trump administration. All right, let's keep going here. From WKOW, a local ABC affiliate over here in the middle of Wisconsin, Trump holds Janesville rally as Rock County's COVID cases surges. Wow, I can read. Trump holds Janesville rally as Rock County COVID cases surge. Thousands lined up to go to President Trump's rally on Saturday evening in Janesville, but many disregarded COVID-19 precautions at the same time as cases are spiking in the area. Though staff were handing out masks and supporters had to wear one in order to ride the buses that shuttled people between the parking and the rally site, many Trump supporters didn't wear masks and almost no one maintained physical distancing. Bill Atkins drove up from Illinois to attend the rally. He said he doesn't think the virus poses a real threat, and he is less concerned after Trump got sick. I think there's a cure coming, he said. The elderly can get it and live, so I think that they should reopen everything. But not everyone on the way to the rally was as cavalier about the disease that has killed more than 218,000 Americans, citation needed, including more than 1,500 Wisconsinites, citation needed. We are encouraging people to protect themselves, but we also want to show our support for this president, supporter Ava Neterowicz said. The rally comes 2 weeks after Trump had to cancel a planned rally because he tested positive for COVID-19. Yeah, he was supposed to be here 2 weeks ago, and he canceled that because he got the announcement the day before he was supposed to be here, but we're here. We've got stuff going on. Now, Rock County is seeing record daily case increases. On October 5th, the county had 2,860 total cases. On Friday, it had 3,828 total cases. That means a quarter of Rock County's total coronavirus cases have been recorded in the past 13 days. And the Rock County Public Health Department said this trend is worrying. We're getting very concerned about the increase in numbers and are currently discouraging gatherings of any type. Jessica Turner, RC PhD communications specialist, said, any type of gathering presents the potential for spread of the virus. We hope that anyone who does choose to attend a gathering does so in the safest manner possible, taking precautions to keep themselves and others safe. Nederowicz said that she would wear her mask and face shield at all times, but she said she recognized not everyone will make the same decision. Nothing is mandatory, she said. People can choose whatever they want to do. I myself choose masks. I myself choose shields. Everyone has the same privilege. That is a part of the reason that I do prefer living here in Rock County. Because even the government official coming out here saying, we need to be wearing the mask, says this is still a personal freedom, in spite of the fact that we're under the governor's orders to do so. There still is freedom about this. And even our government officials recognize this. And you know what? If I've got to go to Woodman's or Festival or something, for the little bit of time I'm in there, I'll throw the thing on. Maybe tuck it down a little bit so I can breathe every once in a while, but because they're private industries, I'll do it every once in a while. All right, let's keep going off of this one here. I've got another one here from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Trump tells thousands in Janesville that Wisconsin is key to winning the whole ball game. President Trump on Saturday defied guidance from health officials to rally supporters, contending he saved nearby Kenosha from looting and arson this summer. No, that's not true. That is not true either. That was a joint conglomeration between Governor Evers getting his head out of his ass finally, and Trump having the National Guard at the ready to go when Governor Evers got his head out of his ass. But that took two people, and I'm still not entirely convinced that a part of what happened in Kenosha and the fact that everything died down was the fact that somebody did shoot back. I do think that there is some truth in some of that. The president didn't mention that Wisconsin is one of the nation's pandemic hotspots with nearly 4,000 new cases reported just on Friday, and a surge of infections that has pushed state officials to open a field hospital to give relief to hospitals in the northeastern part of the state. Instead, he ticked off what by now are familiar subjects along the Trump campaign trail: law enforcement, border security, the economy. I wish you had a Republican governor because, frankly, you've got to open your state up. You've got to open it up, Trump told the crowd, even though Wisconsin currently has no statewide restrictions on gatherings, businesses, or schools. Yeah, he tried, and he got his ass handed back to him. So, I believe we read about this last week, but just to reiterate on that, Evers tried to put another restriction on gatherings in place. I think there's no mask mandate actually right now either, I believe, at this point. But Evers tried to put another gathering restriction in place and limit the capacity of restaurants to 25% statewide. And the Tavern League filed a suit in Sawyer County, and Sawyer County said, no, you are not. And I do think that there is a part of logic to go along with that because it was supposed to lift on November 6th. Which means that he was taking some time to assess and make sure people voted the right way and decide whether he was going to reward us or punish us based on how we voted. I see how the game is played. Trump is a little more than 2 weeks away from the day he needs Wisconsin voters to give him another win by coming to Janesville. Trump returned to the place where he held his first Wisconsin rally in 2016, when he narrowly won the state that delivered him the presidency. If we win Wisconsin, we win the whole ball game, Trump said, discussing why he visited the state on a chilly, windy Saturday evening. You think I'm doing this for my health? I'm not doing this for my health. He arrived in the Badger State, trailing his Democratic opponent, Joe Biden, in state polling, and as Democratic leaders are blaming him and other Republicans for a surge in coronavirus cases. Trump told the crowd the election was a choice between a Trump super recovery and a Biden depression. If he gets in, you'll have the greatest depression in the history of this country. The worst. I'll give you the best recovery, the greatest recovery. I have the best recoveries, Trump said. Your stocks will go to hell. Trump also warned of companies refusing to do business with Democrat administrations, citing Foxconn Technology Group as an example of a company that doesn't want to invest with these people. Wisconsin, under former Republican Governor Scott Walker, promised Foxconn Technology Group up to $4 billion in taxpayer help to exchange for a $10 billion manufacturing facility with 13,000 jobs. Trump helped break the ground for the facility and used it at the time as evidence that he would bring back manufacturing jobs. Notably, 3 years after the deal, the companies only created 281 jobs and not qualified for many of the subsidies it sought. Yeah. No, and that was one of the big pet projects of Evers coming in and campaigning, was the fact that I'm going to shut down Foxconn because we don't want any of that here. Oh, they're just going to cheat. They're bad because they worked with the Walker administration. I'm going to shut that shit down, and sure enough, he did. He kept a campaign promise at the cost of people in Racine County getting jobs. So, I mean, the rallies it's a Trump rally. You know what to expect with it. You know what happens at a Trump rally. We watch them all the time. And he's come to Wisconsin. I mean, this is something that we saw back in 2016. He needed Wisconsin to win, and Hillary Clinton never came here. Now, Biden's been here a couple times, coming out and pandering whenever he can, but, I mean, Trump is over here pandering too. A lot of people are complaining about the fact that he came to Janesville because they're still trying to recover over the fact that, they shut the GM plant down. Which they did. They absolutely did. Under Obama. They started tearing it down under Trump, but they shut that down in 2009. And yes, we need to get some of the gloves off and get some manufacturing going off of here. I don't disagree with that. But for the most part, we're 2 weeks out from an election, and we're going to start to see pander, no matter where we go. All right, let's keep going here. I've got one archived from the Boston Herald. Counter-protesters clash with police at pro-Trump rally in Copley Square. From Rick Sobey. A loud counter-protest against conservatives and President Trump devolved into skirmishes with police, who handcuffed and removed multiple people from the rancorous scene in Copley Square on Sunday. The tense clash was sparked with dueling protests along Dartmouth Street, with about 50 supporters of Super Happy Fun America delivering a series of pro-Trump and anti-Democrat speeches on the sidewalk in front of the Boston Public Library, and counter-protesters who numbered about 150 across the street trying to drown them out with chants and drums. After counter-protesters moved barricades set by police between the two sides, at least 2 counter-protesters were removed from the scene in handcuffs following altercations with officers. Pepper spray was also used amid the chaos, although it was not clear who sprayed it. This is a peaceful protest against Democrat violence, and they're proving our point, said Samson Rakiopi of Super Happy Fun America, the pro-Trump side, which organized Sunday's protest and previously held the Straight Pride Parade. The violence is across the street, Rakiopi added, saying that counter-protesters attacked police. Republican congressional candidate Rayla Campbell, who was running a write-in campaign against Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, was on crutches as she joined the Super Happy Fun America group. Campbell spoke about how she was assaulted at a New Bedford event last week and railed against the radical left and Antifa at Sunday's rally. Yeah, the R-rated conservative has been working with Rayla Campbell a lot. Go check out their stream together. That was pretty interesting to see. I stand up and I fight back, Campbell said. I will always stand up for American values and the American way. She added that a red wave is coming on November 3rd and that Trump will get 4 more years at the White House. On the other side, counter-protesters hammered on drums loudly, chanted, "Fascists are not welcome here, go home racists, and Black Lives Matter." They burned a cardboard effigy of Trump and held signs that read, "Vote Trump out." I think the people across the street are one step away from the people who murdered Heather Heyer in Charlottesville, said Stan Lawrence, Refuse Fascism. So it's important to be out there. It's important for people around the city and around the state and around the country to see that there's opposition to these kinds of rallies. The Trump-Pence regime is a fascist regime that needs to be driven from power, he added. After the Super Happy Fun America group left Copley Square to booze and heckling, many counter-protesters remained and took the steps of the Boston Public Library. Holding Black Lives Matter signs, they chanted, "No good cops in a racist system," and "Whose streets? Our streets." Well, I don't know about you guys, but I would rather not aspire to get to the streets. I would rather aspire to home ownership, but that's just me. Call me fucking crazy, I guess. But that's what they did over in Boston off of this. Let's keep going. from the Reno Gazette-Journal, archived, of course, because anything that flies under the USA Today banner, which is, I guess, the programming that runs off of here, says, "We see you're using an ad blocker. Please turn it off." Or I can just archive it and get by that. All right, from Reno Gazette-Journal. Trump wraps up Carson City rally after speaking on Biden, the media, COVID-19, and more. From James DeHaven. Something strange is happening in North Carolina, Michigan, and Nevada, President Trump told the Carson City audience on Sunday. Trump, speaking to a crowd of about 5,000 mostly unmasked supporters gathered at Carson City Airport, said he expects to win each of those potentially crucial presidential battlegrounds despite polls that show him consistently trailing Democrat Joe Biden. "The lines are long, and they're wearing caps and badges and those beautiful shirts," the president said, referring to his supporters in each of those states. "There's more enthusiasm now than we had 4 years ago, by a lot. In Michigan, everyone's expecting we're going to do well. Something strange is happening in Michigan and other places because we're not at 20%. We're leading." Trump then turned to his favorite target, former Vice President Joe Biden, who he said shouldn't have even won the Democratic presidential nomination. And I will go out and say that yes, he's probably right on that, because there's no reason for for Biden to have won that. Nobody cares about Biden, and there were actually brilliant minds. They were brilliant minds with bad ideas, but there were actually brilliant minds that ran for the presidency this year, instead of Joe Biden, whose mind has mostly devolved into Swiss cheese at this point. Under Biden, he said taxes would be quadrupled and military spending would be cut to the bone. "Is there anybody that's going to vote for Biden in this crowd?" Trump asked. "He should have never even got the nomination. It would have gone to Bernie before Elizabeth Warren split up the vote. Elizabeth Warren, I call her Pocahontas. Okay. Lied about her ethnicity. Won 1024th, Native American. Okay. Normal life is all we want. We want to be where we were 7 months ago. Next year will be the greatest economic year in the history of our country." Trump later said that China should have done more to contain the coronavirus, something that we'll never forget. He did not forget to take a few customary swipes at the lamestream media. "What they don't realize is, without me, their ratings are going to nosedive." I actually think that's true. I really do. Without the Trump bump to the media, without them running out and telling the American people what to be angry about, and people running to those rage clicks every day, I think that a lot of the ratings, I think people are going to go back to stupid reality television and whatever is going on Netflix in the background, without Donald Trump coming up there to drive the media narrative. And those rage clicks come with advertising dollars, because not everybody archives their shit. "They want Biden to win, but if Biden wins, they're out of business. He's the most boring person I've ever seen." Biden's campaign sought to respond to some of those jabs in a statement released hours ahead of the rally. When President Trump visits Nevada today, he needs to answer for his failed response to COVID-19 that has led to 88,000 Nevadans infected by this virus, his refusal to pass additional financial relief for families desperately in need of help during the economic crisis, including the nearly 200,000 Nevadans still out of work because of the pandemic, and his determination to undermine the health care of millions of Americans by seeking to overturn the entire Affordable Care Act. The former vice president said, "Rather than take responsibility and lead, President Trump continues to downplay COVID-19. Yeah, well, he's got to be the one to do it because he doesn't have the media to sit by and do it, like you guys did in the Obama administration. And as far as military spending goes, I don't see that going away just because of all the people in Congress that are making money off Raytheon and Halliburton and everybody else out there, and the fact that I'm pretty positive that Kamala Harris or somebody in the administration is already on the ready, should Biden somehow manage to eke out a win from all of this, to go over and whisper in Iran's ear, "Hey, Israel called your mom's fat." So we'll see what happens off of that. Let's keep going here. From CNN, Trump's rallies make no political sense. Here's why he does them anyway. This is an opinion piece from John Harwood, marked as analysis. President Trump's bout with coronavirus gave him the chance for a reset on the top 2020 election issue. Characteristically, he has spurned it. Instead of projecting newfound empathy and sobriety, Trump has flaunted his recklessness at packed, mostly maskless campaign rallies. The gleeful abandon, as he bleeds support from voters fearing that he hasn't taken the pandemic seriously, makes no political sense. But it makes perfect emotional sense for a president who craves the applause of a zealous minority. His hunger for affirmation explains much about his conduct of the presidency and why it may soon come to an end. Trump won the White House by eking out an electoral college majority on the strength of a narrow but intense support base among less educated white conservatives. Dude, keep printing this shit. Keep printing this. Trump won the White House by eking out an electoral college majority on the strength of a narrow but intense support base among less educated white conservatives. Just keep calling the people that you want to come back over to your side and vote for you stupid. Do it. Keep fucking doing it. My God. He lost the popular vote. My popular vote. And became the first president in an era of modern polling never to reach 50% approval. Okay. We're just going to ignore the end of Biden. Nor has Trump seriously tried to broaden his appeal, even after a wrenching midterm election defeat in 2018. He refused to temper his vitriolic style or hard right approach. Hard right? He gave $3 trillion away to the American people. That's not hard right. To issues from immigration to taxation to healthcare to the environment. What? He prefers the safety and comfort of audiences that already embrace him over the uncertainty and risk of encountering those who don't. As president, he has visited West Virginia, which he won in 2016 by 42 percentage points 8 times. By the tally of CBS White House correspondent and real-time historian Mark Knoller, that's the same number of visits as he's made to California, which has a population 20 times larger, but rejected him by 30 points. Fighting from behind in his re-election campaign, Trump now lavishes attention on battleground states, but he still won't moderate his message. Once the pandemic shook Americans and shattered the economy, political prudence argued for an aggressive, focused federal response. Trump refused, indulging the reluctance of supporters who imagined it would be mostly harm blue states but spare red ones. Once racial justice protests mushroomed in the wake of George Floyd's killing by police, public sentiment favored a conciliatory approach. Trump chose law and order on crackdowns, pitched to the ire of blue-collar white supporters. After institutions from NASCAR to the Pentagon shunned divisive Confederate emblems, accepting the 21st century racial sensibilities became a political no-brainer, Trump defiantly sheltered the prejudices of allies who fear change in a diversifying America. While debating Democratic nominee Joe Biden at a moment when open racism represents the foremost taboo in a contemporary society, Trump ducked an invitation to condemn white supremacists. Sure, tell me who to condemn. Who back him. In his NBC town hall last week, Trump dared not even condemn the lunatic theories of QAnon adherents, in spite of the fact that he says, yes, okay, I condemn them. I condemn white supremacy. I condemn them. Over and over again to Savannah Guthrie, by the way, to condemn even the lunatic theories of QAnon adherents who have embraced his presidency from the deluded extremist fringe. Yeah, this is garbage. This is straight up CNN garbage right here. But they're going to come back and run and do it anyway. Because they've got to come out and justify the fact that people are coming out and watching this president. Just like they did for Bernie Sanders. And yet nobody comes out and looks like Biden. Or looks at Biden. Alright. And if your daily dose of Trump derangement syndrome isn't the worst, The Hill. Watch, President Trump gives money during services at the International Church of Las Vegas. And the top comment comes from Nancy J. Kellstrom. Wow, he tithes as close as I can guess from the video, $40. But that means he has an income of question mark, question mark, question mark. I'm the pastor of a church in rural Missouri. My husband and I, along with the congregation, tithe far more than that. This man is not a Christian. He is pandering. So yes, the main outrage coming from the Hill right now is the fact that Trump gave an offering. He gave an offering to a church. That's the outrage right now. Let's have a watch and a listen. That's enough. That's not going to get any juicier here. But I mean, how is this a news story? The president gave offering. I don't understand. I don't understand how this is the top of the news. Well, as slow of a weekend as I can kind of understand that, but I know. And then the foo is out here. It's called an offering. Look it up. Gunpowder and Vanilla Autumn Fox over. Who's been on the Freckles of Brit show before, says it's called an offering, happens at every church service every Sunday, all over the nation, a perfectly normal part of the day for churchgoers and not news. But they had to put it up there as news, I guess. All right, let's keep going here. From the Blaze, Kirstie Alley says she will vote for Trump. Leftists respond with a tsunami of hate. You are now dead to me. Well, but considering I didn't even know Kirstie Alley was still alive until like 3 weeks ago. What's the last thing Kirstie Alley's been in? I think the only reason she's making news and headlines right now is the fact that she decided that she was going to be a Trumper. Let's see what The Blaze has to say. Actress Kirstie Alley, known for her roles in Star Trek and Cheers, revealed Saturday. She was in Trek? I didn't know that. Revealed Saturday she will vote for President Trump next month. She was hit with a tsunami of hate in response. Alley has become increasingly outspoken about politics in recent weeks. Last month she criticized the new inclusion requirements for Best Picture contenders at the Oscar, and earlier this month, the actress slammed a CNN reporter in a viral tweet calling House Speaker Nancy Pelosi evil. Just a few days earlier, she announced that she will vote for Trump, just as she did in 2016, because she approves of his job performance. Look, I'm voting for Trump because he's not a politician. I voted for him 4 years ago for this reason, and I shall vote for him again for this reason. She said, he's kind of a politician at this point, so. Alley added, he gets things done quickly and will turn the economy around quickly. There you have it, folks. There you have it. Alley's admission on Saturday was the first time she revealed that she did, in fact, vote for Trump in 2016. Alley had initially voiced support for Trump during the Republican primary, but dropped her endorsement when the infamous Hollywood Reporter tape surfaced weeks before the election. As of Sunday afternoon, Alley's tweet had received more than 87,000 responses. She was widely criticized, and many detractors invoked her membership in Scientology to mock her. Okay. Shelley Long was funnier than you, Hollywood director Judd Apatow said. Well, my vote for Biden canceled yours out. I've done my civic duty of the day, actress Patricia Arquette said. So you belong to two cults. Gotcha, one response said. Imagine if joining Scientology wasn't even your biggest mistake, another response said. She's part of two cults, Scientology and Cult 45. There's no hope for her, another response said. Cult 45? Seriously? The left can't meme. You're now dead to me, actress Marina Sirtis said. We already knew you were a cultist, but it's definitely weird. You're a member of two cults. Isn't there like a cult honor code or something? Another person responded. I'm hiring my friend because he's not an electrician. I hired him 4 years ago for this reason, and he wired up the house quick. And now 4 years later, after it burned down, fake news, said it was an electric fire. I'm going to hire him again, one person mocked. And much, much more of that. Dude, I'm going to be completely serious. The only reason this is news is because it is a Hollywood actress that is voting for Trump. And we really, my God, why do we care what the woman who's been in every Olsen Twins movie from the 90s, how she votes? Why does that matter? But apparently it matters. All right, I got another one here from The Hill. Rally crowd chants lock him up as Trump calls Biden family a criminal enterprise, from Brooks Seipel. Supporters at a campaign rally for Trump on Sunday chanted lock him up as Trump attacked presidential nominee Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden. The chant erupted after Trump accused the former vice president of using millions of dollars to help his son escape from trouble in Ukraine by ousting a top Ukrainian prosecutor, a familiar refrain for Trump on the campaign trail and one that has been repeatedly debunked. He said it out loud. How much more? I came back and I said, you know, I'm going to leave this room, and if that prosecutor isn't fired, then you're not getting $1 billion. And son of a bitch, he got fired. He confessed it proudly. How is this debunked? They're corrupt people, but Joe Biden is from a failed and corrupt political class, Trump continued before repeating allegations against the Bidens printed in a controversial story by the New York Post. Let's have a listen to this. Because we can.
Masks. I mean, there's a lot of masks on. A lot of masks. Now, they're corrupt people, but Joe Biden is from a failed and corrupt political class that enriched itself while draining the economic life and soul from our country. Guy's been here for 47 years. Isn't it amazing? I do something, he says, oh, I would have done it. He's been here for 47 years. Now all of a sudden he says, oh, we should have done this. When I closed and put a ban on China coming and heavily infected, I saved thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of lives. He said I was xenophobic, I shouldn't have done it. Months later, he agreed it was the right thing to do. Now he goes out, I should have done it sooner. And yet he didn't want me to do it months later. These people, I don't know how they get away with it. You know why? Because those people are more corrupt than anybody.
Fact check true, they are more corrupt than anybody. So, thank you for that one there. The New York Post published several stories about emails allegedly discovered on a laptop at a Delaware repair shop discussing Joe Biden's and Hunter Biden's activities in Ukraine. Social media platforms have blocked the spread of the story, and other media outlets have published stories raising concerns that the sourcing in the report is suspect. Never mind the content. But it's the same thing with emails, though, and we saw this all the time going back through Hillary. Well, how did they get the emails? It was Russia. Russia got the emails for them. How did WikiLeaks get the emails? What was in the emails? That's what you should be concerned about, not the sourcing of this. Federal authorities are investigating whether the emails were connected to a foreign intelligence operation attempting to sway the election. Watch for 2 more weeks of this bullshit, because it's not going to stop. Alright. Speaking of the laptop, Senator Ron Johnson presses Wray on validity of Hunter Biden laptop claim, from Ron Blitzer, Evie Fordham, and Brooke Singman. Senator Ron Johnson is calling on FBI Director Wray to confirm or deny details regarding a laptop said to have belonged to Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. Johnson said in a letter to Wray, obtained by Fox News, that a whistleblower contacted his committee on September 24th, claiming to possess a laptop that Hunter Biden left at his business, and that he turned it over to the FBI. Johnson noted that staff immediately asked the FBI to confirm certain details in order to validate the claim, but the Bureau said they would not confirm or deny any of the information included in their request. The FBI has a duty to inform us that they believe that this was maybe a Russian disinformation. They should give us a defensive briefing, Johnson told the Sunday Morning Futures. If, for example, they also believe that what information this whistleblower gave us is fraudulent, that would also be a crime, and FBI should tell us that. Johnson is chair of the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs. Johnson said his questions about what the FBI knew about Hunter Biden and when they knew it speaks to a larger issue. What did they sit on? Are they covering up just because Hunter Biden might be engaged in things that also maybe should have been investigated and possibly prosecuted? Do we have two systems of justice, one for Democrats and one for Republicans? One for the well-connected versus one for the rest of America, he asked. Johnson added that he found the Biden campaign's response to claims that alleged Hunter Biden emails show his father met with Burisma executive pretty odd. The Biden campaign, all they've done to refute or deny any of this is to say that the meeting, one of these emails revealed that Vice President Biden had with number 3 in control of Burisma, never showed up in his official calendar, Johnson said. There's all kinds of meetings, and that didn't show up on his official calendar. This wouldn't surprise me if this one didn't. I have a responsibility to validate and verify the contents of any information produced to my committee, Johnson said in his letter. The committee must know if it receives information that could be fraudulent or not accurate. So, this whole laptop thing, it's insanity from the top to the bottom. First off, laptop shows up at a repair shop. The owner is a conspiracy theorist, copies the hard drive, sends it to Giuliani and the FBI. The FBI doesn't do crap. Giuliani leaks it to the paper. Big tech censors the paper, which has been around since didn't Hamilton start the New York Post? Which means it's been around for over a century, almost 2 at this point. Probably more than 2, actually, now that I think about it. And now they're coming over saying Russian disinformation. So, and I know there are other stories popping up about possible pedophilic ties with Hunter Biden as well. I know the Gateway Pundits got one out there. They're not green check verified, so I don't use them, but it has shown up in my Discord a few times, and to me it's not been verified. And one of the things to remember when we're looking at stories like this as well is to not get caught up in the possibilities and the conspiracy theories and ignore the actual conspiracy that's in front of you. I mean, it would surprise me to find out that Hunter Biden got into some kiddie shit, but until there's actual provable evidence for that, I'm not even going to focus on any of that. Instead, just focusing on what is actually out there, and that is the fact that he made millions of dollars in an energy company with no energy experience and not even speaking Ukrainian, and his laptop got found with pictures of him with a crack pipe in his mouth. As a result, those are the things that are verifiable at this point, and those are the things I'm going to stick to. And if something comes out about the pedophilic ties and can be verified, then I'll be the first one to jump up and say, hey, you know what? I was wrong. He actually got into this shit. But there's good evidence for corruption sitting us right in the face, and we don't need to try and overcharge and throw other stuff on top of it. Let's keep going. From the Daily Wire, Biden runs from question about the FBI, will not be seen again until debate night report. So we're not going to see Biden now until Thursday night. Huzzahs are in order. Now if we could get Trump to hide until Thursday night too. All right, from Ryan Saavedra. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden ran from a question on Sunday about the FBI, which comes after he snapped to a reporter late last week for asking him about the growing scandal involving a laptop that may have belonged to his son Hunter. The question came after Fox News corroborated a report that was featured in the New York Post about an explosive email thread allegedly involving Hunter Biden that appeared to outline a payout for the former Vice President Joe Biden as part of a deal with a Chinese energy firm. The Daily Caller tweeted out a video of the encounter, writing, "Joe Biden walks away from as a reporter asks him about the FBI seizing his son Hunter's laptop." In the video, Biden turns and immediately begins leaving once someone asked him about the FBI. It was hard to hear the reminder of the question in the video because others who were standing nearby began laughing. Let's have a look. As long as it's here. Thank you, Daily Caller, for that. And the Daily Wire for putting it up.
I want another one chocolate, but I wanted to get a what we call black and white. We're going to move it. We're going to split it.
I remember touching the FBI agent for the
I want another one chocolate, but I wanted to get a what we call black and white. We're going to move it. We're going to.
Yeah, so in the beginning, and I saw this other story when I was going through this, and I didn't feel that it was worth reporting because, I mean, it's just media talking about the media. The Blaze reported that, yes, they asked him the question about the milkshake, but, and that's what he was answering. Well, I like to call it black and white. So this is the kind of milkshake I got. And then we had this question. He just says, fuck it, I'm out of here.
I remember touching the FBI agent for the I remember touching the FBI agent for the
The emails came from a laptop computer that was reportedly dropped off at a computer repair store last April in Biden's home state of Delaware. The person who brought the laptop into the store never paid for service and never retrieved the device. Federal law enforcement officials reportedly seized the laptop in December after the store owner alerted them to it, but not before the store owner made a copy of the hard drive and gave it to Rudy Giuliani. And of course, the Hunter Biden people and the Biden campaign demanded the laptop back. Didn't dispute the validity of what's on there, just said, give me back what's mine. You have no right to this. So, this whole story is just a steaming pile of bullshit. Alright, let's keep going here. From the Blaze, Kristen Welker, moderator of the final debate, has deep ties to the Democratic Party. You know, like Pete Scully did. Like Chris Wallace did. Like, what the hell was her name? The lady at the vice presidential debate? All the moderators have had deep ties with the Democrat Party at this point. This isn't a news story. This is par for the fucking course. From Paul Saka, with little more than 2 weeks until the 2020 presidential election, we are heading into the stretch run. The second presidential debate was canceled after President Trump contracted coronavirus. No makeup date or virtual event could be agreed upon between the two campaigns, which leads only what was to be the third and final presidential debate. Come on, man. I ain't going to no debate, man. We're just going to do it virtually, man. Just let me back in the basement, okay? Trump and Joe Biden will square off for 90 minutes at Belmont University in Nashville. At 9 p.m. on Thursday, the moderator for the final debate is NBC News White House correspondent Kristen Welker. Following the contentious first presidential debate moderated by Chris Wallace, many are wondering how the last debate will be handled. People are also concerned about the bias following the week's two presidential town halls, where ABC News' George Stephanopoulos didn't ask Biden a single question about the allegations about Hunter Biden's overseas dealings with the NBC News town hall, where critics allege Samantha Guthrie had a hostile agenda against Trump. Voters are asking, who is Kristen Welker? Is Kristen Welker a liberal? Welker, 44, has deep ties to the Democrat Party, dating back years. Welker's party registration is not currently listed, but she was registered as a Democrat in Washington, D.C. in 2012 and in Rhode Island in 2004, according to the New York Post. Welker's parents, who are proud supporters of the Biden-Harris campaign, have donated tens of thousands of dollars to the leftist fundraising organization Act Blue and Democratic politicians over the years, including nearly $20,000 to Barack Obama and $3,300 to the Biden for President campaign. In 2012, Welker and her family visited the White House in December, where she posed with Michelle and Barack Obama. Welker shared a photo on Facebook from the White House Christmas party with the caption, "Christmas at the White House." An NBC spokesperson said Welker also attended President Trump's White House Christmas party with her husband in 2017, according to the Washington Examiner. You know who should be moderating these debates? Hold on, stay with me here. Freedom Scoop moderated debates. Because you know who moderates a good debate? Stephen Ignoramus. That's who should be hosting these debates. The Freedom Scoop Media Group. We'll get up there. We'll have the debate. And you'll know what's coming out of this at this point. Because, honestly, the R-rated conservatives are a little bit biased towards Trump. But I think for the rest of us, I'm pretty sure we're going to ask the hard questions both directions. Because there are things that I want the president to answer for, and there are a lot of things that I want Biden to answer for. But, you know what? Until we get much, much bigger, until you guys start telling your friends and getting more subscribers into here, that's going to be a dream, a far-off dream at this point. And yes, once again, the story is who the media person is, not necessarily who the news person is. And lastly, once again, this is par for the course. You knew this was coming. You knew this was going to happen. The debate commission is just as interested in getting Trump out of the White House as everybody else is at this point. So I don't know why anybody's surprised at this or why this is newsworthy, but apparently it is. All right, from the Hill. Push to expand Supreme Court faces Democratic buzzsaw from Jordan Kearney. A progressive push to expand the Supreme Court. Whoa, we got autoplay. That was right in my ear, too. Oh, I had your ears off, so. A progressive push to expand the Supreme Court is running into an unusual buzzsaw. Fellow Democrats. Calls for Democrats to remake the judiciary are ramping up as Republicans appear poised to put Amy Coney Barrett, a sixth conservative justice, on the bench. It's a decision that will have decades-long reverberations, progressives warn, unless Democrats make systemic changes to the judiciary next year if they win back the Senate majority and the White House in November, something they are feeling increasingly bullish about. If Republicans proceed as expected, Democrats will have every right to consider Barrett illegitimate and pursue structural reform to restore ideological balance to the court, said Brian Fallon, the executive director of the progressive group Demand Justice. But supporters of court reforms face an uphill climb even if Democrats find themselves with a trifecta next year for the first time since 2010 when they lost the House in a Tea Party wave. Top Democrats ranging from Democratic nominee Joe Biden to congressional leadership have been non-committal, while at the same time with an eye on keeping the party united heading into November 3rd, not ruling it out. And several rank-and-file Democrats and hopefuls in key races have been cool to the idea, while accusing Republicans of driving the Senate and courts to institutional breaking points by refusing to give Merrick Garland, former President Obama's final Supreme Court nominee, a hearing or a vote, but quickly moving to confirm Barrett. There is no active conversation or deliberation about any changes to the court composition, said Dick Durbin, the number 2 Democrat and a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. The major headache for progressives beyond getting Biden and a decades-long institutionalist on board is the tough math that they face that is likely to leave them little room for error and needing nearly every, if not every, vote among Senate Democrats. Absent a Democratic wave, their margin is likely to be narrow. While 538, for example, gives the Democrats a 73% chance of winning back the Senate, it rates the likely outcome as 51-49 split, followed by 52-48 and then 50-50. Expanding the number of Supreme Court seats would require 2 steps, nixing the 60-vote legislative filibuster, and then passing legislation to change the number of justices from 9. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of backlash to this, but the big thing to keep in mind with this as we go along, and as they keep talking about packing the court, and this is something that Ted Cruz pointed out on the Verdict podcast that he does with Michael Knowles. They keep talking about the fact, well, Trump got 3 Supreme Court nominees in his term. He got 3. Well, he could have had more. Don't you understand? I mean, the idea of packing the court and changing the judiciary. I mean, it's been around for a while, but he had the mandate. White House, House, and Senate with the ability to change the filibuster. The mandate was there. He could have done it. They could have, if they really wanted the judiciary that bad, they didn't have to wait for Ginsburg to die. They didn't have to wait for Kennedy to retire. They could have just done it. But they didn't. The only people that are changing the rules are on the left at this point. And that's something to keep in mind as we go along with this. The only people proposing a rule change at all are on the left. So, we will see what happens with that. I do feel like there's enough sense in the Democrat Party yet that they will stop this. It hasn't completely fallen to the AOC party yet, but I know it's getting close. All right, let's keep going. From the Daily Wire, Whitmer caught with controversial sign after claiming chanting "Lock her up" is inciting terrorism. From Ryan Saavedra. Michigan Democrat Governor Gretchen Whitmer was caught with an allegedly controversial sign in the background of an interview she gave on Sunday after claiming that chants of "Lock her up" at a Trump rally were incentivizing domestic terrorism. And then finally, last night at the top of our show we made reference, and you became a target of the president personally, a "Lock her up" chant targeting you started and seemed to be almost encouraged at times by the president there. NBC News host Chuck Dodd said to Whitmer on Sunday, "You've already come under threat once. What does something like this do to you personally?" Whitmer said that it was incredibly disturbing that the chant happened and claimed that President Trump was inspiring and incentivizing and inciting this kind of domestic terrorism. Whitmer's remarks came after a group of allegedly plotted to kidnap her in response to her coronavirus lockdown measures. Many have tried to tie the group to the political right, but have failed to mention that the group included an anarchist who posted anti-Trump videos, a Black Lives Matter supporter, and someone who had been pardoned by a Democrat governor last year. Conservatives noticed during the same interview Whitmer displayed an 8645 sign in the background. I don't see it. Governor Gretchen Whitmer displayed an 8645 sign during her TV appearance, the Trump campaign said in a tweet. 86 can be shorthand for killing someone. Whitmer is encouraging an assassination attempt against President Trump just weeks after someone sent a rice and lace package to the White House. Where is this? Oh, right there. 8645. Come on, dude. This is numerology stuff. But there it is, right there. Even New York Times reporter Kathy Gray noticed the pin during Whitmer's television interview. Just notice the 8645 pin is in the corner of Gretchen Whitmer's appearance on Meet the Press. Republican National Committee Rapid Response Director Steve Guest responded to Gray's tweet by tweeting out a screenshot of a definition of 86, which stated 86, 86th or 86th is American English slang for canceling something, killing someone, getting rid of something by burying it, ejecting someone, or refusing service. Guest specifically highlighted the portion of the definition that said it could mean killing someone. So much tinfoil here, folks. So much tinfoil. But this is what it is. We're in the middle of an election year. Let's keep going. From the Blaze. Boilermakers Union blasts Biden for claiming union endorsed him. That is not true. From Chris Enlow, Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden is being called out for falsely claiming the Boilermakers Union, which represents tens of thousands of American workers, had endorsed him for the president. During his ABC News town hall last week, moderator George Stephanopoulos asked Biden about his position on fracking. Biden denied he would ban fracking as president, but Stephanopoulos noted that a member of Boilermakers Local 54 had told the New York Times he doubts Biden's denials. Biden said in response, "I'm telling the Boilermakers overwhelmingly endorse me, okay? So the Boilermakers Union has endorsed me because I sat down with them and went into a great deal earlier to show their leadership exactly what I would do. Number one." According to John Hughes, leader of the Boilermakers Local 154, Biden is not telling the truth. In fact, not only has the union not endorsed Biden, but the Boilermakers Union has not endorsed any candidate for president. The other day, I'm watching the debate, and I see Joe Biden tell everyone that the Boilermakers endorsed him, and that is not true, Hughes said on a Saturday press call. Breitbart News reported, and I would like someone to tell me who. He said, talk to somebody. I'd like to know who he talked to in the Boilermakers, because anybody I talked to did not endorse him. So, if you're a presidential candidate and you're running on the Democrat ticket, and the union is not endorsing you, you're in trouble. And then Luke Barletta puts this letter out. Someone should tell Joe Biden that here in Pennsylvania, the Boilermakers he claims are overwhelmingly supporting him endorsed President Trump last month. And there's the letter there that says that they are going to endorse Trump. So yeah, once again, if you're a Democrat candidate and the union doesn't endorse you, you are in trouble, dude. Something to think about as you go. All right, from the Hill. Biden and Schumer. Another autoplay going on here. Let's get rid of that so the autoplays don't distract me anymore. From the Hill, Biden and Schumer face battles with left if Democrats win big. Alexander Bolton. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer got a glimpse of what's in store for them if there's a blue sweep after watching progressives call for Senator Feinstein to step down as the top Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee. Biden has pledged to unite the country, restore comity in Washington, and work with Republicans if he's elected president. But the uproar over Feinstein's brief hug with the Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham on Thursday is a sign that many on the left will have little patience for working with Republicans like Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell next year. Liberal activists and even some junior Democratic senators are warning against spending too much time trying to compromise with Republicans in 2021 if Democrats win control of both the White House and the Senate, which looks increasingly likely. They remember the months wasted in 2009 when former President Obama patiently negotiated with GOP leaders to pass a $789 billion fiscal stimulus plan, which in retrospect many Democrats now concede should have been larger to jumpstart the economy that was in recession, and a bipartisan health care reform package which Senate Republicans refused to endorse in the end. You would hope that you learned the lesson from the Obama years, Bob Boriseg, co-founder of Campaign for America's Future, a liberal advocacy group, said of Biden. He's done his closing arguments in the campaign around bipartisanship, reaching across the aisle and bringing this country together. It reflects his long pride in himself as being able to work across the aisle. It's a real concern he might go the wrong way. My fear is not that he goes the wrong way forever, but he decides, let's try and see if they're going to operate in good faith. As if we haven't seen or had more than enough proof from Mitch McConnell about what kind of faith he operates in, he added. So we're at the point right now that Biden wants to work with Republicans, which I can respect that. I think that if there's a lot more give and take among the parties, we could go a long way to getting some of these laws repealed, getting the economy jump-started, getting something that helps both people. I'm not a hard line one way or the other kind of person, and I think the give and take could be good. But the left in this country, and even some over on the right, I'm looking at you, McConnell, are so dismayed by what's going on in the country right now that they don't want anybody to work together. They just want their agenda, and to hell with the rest of the country. Balkanization is starting to happen here. And I hope that it doesn't take an airplane flying into a building to bring us all back together. I really do. I'm a little scared that that's going to be the only option, but I hope that it doesn't come down to that. All right, I got a couple more here. DOJ rapper arrested for alleged $1.2 million unemployment fraud made whole song music video about the crime. From Chris Enlow. The Department of Justice announced last week that federal authorities have arrested a rapper they claim defrauded the government of coronavirus-related unemployment benefits, then boasted about the fraud in an entire song and music video. Rapper Nuke Bizzle, whose real name is Fontrell Antonio Baines, You know what? I need a rap name, and I'm going to pick Nuke Bizzle. Because that's going to go over great. Whose real name is Fontrell Antonio Baines, was arrested on Friday in Los Angeles for fraudulently applying for more than $1.2 million in jobless benefits, including by using stolen identities, according to the Justice Department. Investigators claim that Baines exploited the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance provision of the CARES Act, which was intended to expand pandemic benefits to independent contractors, self-employed workers, and others. Officially, Baines is charged with 3 felonies for access device fraud, aggravated identity theft, and interstate transportation of stolen property. Baines was initially taken into custody in Las Vegas on September 23rd. At the time, he had 8 debit cards in his possession, according to investigations, 7 of which were allegedly not in his name. According to investigators, evidence of the crime includes a song and music video in which they claim Baines boasts about his alleged crimes. From the DOJ, the affidavit further alleges that Baines bragged about his ability to defraud the EDD in a music video posted on YouTube and in postings to his Instagram account under the handles NukeBizzle1 and NukeBizzle23. For example, Baines appears in a music video called EDD, which he boasts about doing my swagger for EDD and holding up a stack of envelopes from EDD, getting rich by going to the bank with a stack of these, presumably a reference to the debit cards that come in the mail. A second rapper in the video intones, you gotta sell cocaine just to file a claim. You can't fix stupid. Wow. All right, we got the last one here, and we'll close out. I have nothing that restores my faith in humanity right now, this close to an election. But I'll try and think of something here. But let's finish this one out here. The last one that we have for the day. Asteroid could strike Earth a day prior to the election. Astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, from Jackie Salo over at the New York Post via Fox News. That's one way to rock the vote. An asteroid with a diameter the size of a refrigerator could strike the Earth the day before the November election, according to a celebrity scientist, Neil deGrasse Tyson, but it's not large enough to do any serious damage. The famed astrophysicist said the space rock, known as 2018 VP1, is hurtling towards Earth at a speed of 25,000 miles an hour and may clip the planet on November 2nd. It may buzz-cut Earth on November 2nd, the day before the presidential election, he wrote on Instagram. But he added that the flying object is nothing to lose sleep over since it's not big enough to cause harm. So if the world ends in 2020, it won't be the fault of the universe, he said. NASA has previously identified the asteroid rocketing towards Earth, but put its chances of actually striking at less than 1%. So, big meteor, that's the end of it all. But it's not going to do enough to do anything. It might crush somebody's car, but that's going to be about the extent of it at this point. So, that's the end. Alright. And that is going to be it for the news for the day. As far as the restoration of my faith in humanity, I will go back to the Hill at this one here. Because balkanization has been on the lips of a lot of people for a long time. I mean, Blonde in the Belly of the Beast talks about it weekly over on Beauty and the Beta. It's something that constantly comes up. Steven has talked about it with me. Balkanization of the world and peaceful secession. There are all kinds of talks right now about the country never being able to come back together. And in spite of the fact that they would face down the progressive wings of their respective party, Biden and Schumer are at least willing to look across the aisle and try and work with something. And Trump is too at this point. He's willing to negotiate on the stimulus bill, which I don't think we do need. I think we just need to get the restrictions out of the way and let people get back to work and do their thing. But Trump is willing to work. We do still have people in the government that are willing to work together, and we still have people on the ground that are willing to work together. From looking at the news, it looks like the only thing to do is peacefully split the country. The only way to make peace around here. But there's still people that are willing to work in the direction. Get people together, work together, and try and build a better future for America. There are people that just want to go to work. They don't care about what the news says. They don't care about what stupid thing President Trump said. They don't care what mouth diarrhea Biden said. They just want to go to work and work together and build the American society forward once again. There are people like that out there, and there are people in the government that are still willing to try. They're fewer and fewer and farther between as we go along, especially as we get more of your Ilhan Omars, your AOCs, and more coming into the Congress. But they are still out there. And hopefully we can at some point come together, get this figured out, and start to mend the divide that came in these last two presidential administrations. Because I'm not going to argue that President Trump's administration wasn't divisive, but so was Barack Obama's. So the reaching across the aisle, that is something that restores my faith in humanity, and I hope that we see more of it coming forward. We will be back here later on tonight with the Red Ned Show. Come and check us out there. That is 5:30 Central Time with my lovely co-host Elaine. We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We'll talk about the Amy Coney Barrett hearings, the dual town halls, and the slow weekend of news that we had and what's coming up for the presidential election. This will be Elaine's last show before the election because she is the social media director for the Jorgensen campaign, which means that her job is kicking into high gear. I've got some lines out to some people to sit in the next 2 weeks for that, but this will be Elaine's last show before Election Day, so come on over and check us out. Otherwise, we will be back here tomorrow with more Contemporary. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.